Mademoiselle, it is good to see you looking so much recovered.
Thank you.
Captain Marshall, it is necessary that I speak with your daughter in private.
I can't allow that. She's still too weak.
It is of the utmost importance.
No.
Monsieur Poirot, I know what you want to speak to me about. I should like my father to remain.
Are you certain?
Yes, Daddy. Let Monsieur Poirot ask his questions. I need to answer, and you need to hear the answers.
Very well, Linda dear. Monsieur Poirot?
Mademoiselle, it is not true that you liked your stepmother.
No, I loathed her. She ignored me. That was all right. It was the way she treated Daddy I couldn't stand.
Did your father and your stepmother argue?
Daddy doesn't argue. He makes his point and then is done with it. But they often had differences of opinion.
At school, you believed an instructor killed Millie Parsons.
What?
You and your friends had been experimenting with voodoo?
The devil, you say? See here, Poirot. How dare you?
Mademoiselle?
Yes, Mr. Fell, he believed in it. He got us interested. We knew Miss Porter wouldn't believe me if I told her about Millie, about him grabbing her and the horrid things he said.
You decided to dispense justice on your own?
Yes. We fashioned a wax figure of him, got the nail clippings and the hair like the book said, then did the ritual at the polo matting we'd made.
A pole in the cleared circle?
Yes, it represents the centre of the world, power. Then we let him have it with the pins. It worked, Monsieur Poirot. You have to believe me, it worked.
Because he believed as well, Mademoiselle, only that. Miss Potter found out what about the voodoo?
She said we were persecuting Mr. Fell. But I think she got suspicious herself, because she fired him at the end of term.
You wrote threatening letters to your stepmother?
I wanted to scare her.
So she would be more susceptible to your magic?
Yes. It sounds so stupid to say it like this.
No, mademoiselle. Children are often powerless to help those they love. But you had felt your power at school. Is it not so?
Yes, you're right, I did. I thought I could do something to stop her. And I stole Rosamond's typewriter and hid it in Mrs. Redfern's room, so she would be blamed for the notes. That was wicked, I know.
You created another doll.
This morning early, I went out to the monastery ruins and performed the ritual again. Je vous ai battu, je vous casse, je vous maudis. Then I came back here and burnt everything. A little later, I heard she was dead. Don't you see? I thought it had worked. Just like with Mr. Fell. But I didn't want her dead, not really. I just wanted her out of our lives. Forever.
Linda dear. Oh, my child. I'm so sorry.
Mademoiselle, did anyone tell you to take your own life?
No. It seemed the only thing I could do.
I will list for you the things I have found.
All right.
The book of voodoo rituals, the key to the monk's door behind which you hid the wire recorder, the stick pin in the hat with some wax still adhering to it, the hairbrush, the melted wax in the fireplace, human hair burned in the fireplace, green fabric burned in the fireplace. That is all, I think.
But hang on, that's not right.
Something? It is missing?
No, that green fabric. I have no idea where that came from. I didn't burn that.
Do you see it, Hastings? Even as she puts that typewriter in the room of Christine Redfern to throw suspicion on her, someone has the same idea. As I said, the pieces of green fabric that do not match the hat of Mrs. Marshall are a significant clue. Mademoiselle, why did you try to take your own life?
After I talked to you, I came back to my room. I saw someone had been sifting through my fireplace. Then later, my puzzle box had been opened.
But Linda, you can't have believed, not really, that voodoo killed Arlena?
No, but I knew what would happen. Daddy, I know in spite of everything you loved her. And when the truth came out, and you found out what I had done, I knew you wouldn't love me anymore.
Oh, my dear girl, I'll always love you, If you believe nothing else, believe that.
Oh, Daddy. Daddy. I'm so sorry.
Hastings, we are done here.
Well, that's put paid to the compass, right enough. It's no good now.
Here is your compass, Monsieur Blatt. I thank you for allowing me to borrow it.
It's about bloody time, too.
The cheese is in the trap.
Excellent. One more step only. Colonel Weston must be here to make the arrest.
Hello? Need the sea tractor, do you?
Yes, please?
On me way. Is it true Mrs. Castle has seen U-boats off the island? I suppose it must be. She spends hours up in the tower at the hotel. The invasion must be near then, just as they say in all the papers. Colonel Weston has the Home Guard on the alert.
You seem in a very good mood, young man.
I'm about to make 10 quid, and won't Gladys be pleased?
What is the source of your good fortune?
It's the funniest thing. One of the guests at the hotel is paying me to help play a joke on somebody. I'm to lay off the island this evening in my motorboat, and when he signals from the hotel tower, I'm to pick him up and run him over to Thurlestone. It's a surprise for someone, but I don't know any more than that.
We must learn more, Hastings. Who is paying you?
Oh, I can't tell you that, sir. I gave my word, and he wouldn't pay up if I said.
When is this joke to take place?
I've no idea. I'm just to wait off the south side of the island until I see a signal from the tower. Then I head into Cutter's Cove and pick him up.
The lantern missing from the safe. It is now explained. Is it far to Thurlestone?
Oh, no, sir. Just a short run across the bay. Easiest money I've ever made.
And what is the signal?
Oh, sir, I'm not sure I can tell you that.
Where can be the harm? You do not reveal the name as you promised after all. There is another 5 in it for you. £5, Hastings. I think you would not be so free with the money if it were yours.
All in a good cause.
5 quid more? This is my lucky day indeed.
Here you are, my friend. £5 as promised.
Much appreciated, I'm sure. It's just a signal with the light. 3 short flashes.
Quickly, Hastings. Consult the codes in your notebook. Choose one that will be the joke on our adversary.
Three long.
Oui, but of course.
Fire on this position, Poirot. This is a rather bloodthirsty joke, wouldn't you say?
When the time comes, you can warn him if you like. Monsieur Jenks, your humorous friend cannot flash the 3 short lights out into the sea.
Why not?
That is the home guard code for announcing you have spotted the enemy.
Is it really? That wouldn't do at all.
No, indeed. 3 long flashes is the code for no enemy ship sighted.
3 long flashes. Got it. No harm done. I have plenty of time to warn him. I'm certainly glad I told you. I may even get another tip for warning the guest. If you'd excuse me, Mr. Poirot, I have to close up.
That will do for now, monsieur.
Hello, Poirot.
Have there been any new developments?
I'll say.
What of Mrs. Castle?
She met with certain individuals in Exmoor, then hopped a train to Southampton. Trying to leave the country is my guess. She'll be detained the moment she tries to board a ship.
You are watching her associates, I assume?
Scotland Yard is on it.
Any report on Gideon Fell?
He's being questioned as we speak. I hope to have some information before the night is over.
What of Monsieur Jimmy Nash?
Nothing yet, Poirot. Scotland Yard has promised to bring through sometime tonight.
It is time to clear up our remaining mysteries. I need your help.
Anything.
Your men must watch the causeway and stop anyone who tries to leave.
My men will be ready. Anything else?
We must settle this business of the heroine.
Tell me what you need.
Accompany me to Cutter's Cave.
I'm ready to leave when you are. What else?
We are ready to return to Cutter's Cave. Colonel, perhaps you should descend to Cutter's Cove by the ladder. I will ask Mademoiselle Brewster to conduct me there.
Why don't we both take the ladder?
Tell him the smugglers might try to escape by boat.
If the smugglers try to flee by boat, I shall be ready. If they try to make their escape via the ladder, you will be there to apprehend them.
On my way.
Thank you, Hastings. You appreciate my suspicions of the ladder. The sea, it does not appear too rough?
Poirot, you can't fly to Cutter's Cove.
Fly? No, no. Flying is not for Poirot. Can you row me to Cutter's Cove?
Mr. Poirot, after your efforts to find Millie's killer, I'll row you any time you like. You need only ask me. Climb in.
I say, the heroine is gone.
We can't leave by boat, and your bloody compass is useless.
I don't understand it. Compass worked fine before I loaned it to... Oh, hoaxed it, did you?
I am afraid so.
Clever, aren't you?
Oui? May I borrow the compass once more?
I guess you've earned it.
I'll take the sandwich tin if you don't mind.
A few questions, only to satisfy my curiosity. You received the shipments from a larger vessel at sea?
Yes?
Monsieur North, you picked them up in Cutter's Cave.
Yes, once I saw the all-clear signal.
The cells, of course.
Of course.
Red to tell Monsieur North the shipment it was not ready. White to inform him that he could pick it up using the tunnel from the Smuggler's Rest.
That's right. I'd nicked a spare key months ago when the place was still open. Worked quite well for us until a U-boat took some pot shots at me when I was making the rendezvous at sea. Too dangerous now. That was to be our last shipment for a while until we could find another way.
The war, it is an inconvenience.
You can say that again.
Playing the ghost was your idea, Mr. North?
Not likely. Blad thought it would scare off any nosy locals. I thought it was bloody silly.
I think that concludes our business here. Colonel Weston, if you could hand Monsieur North over to your men, I would like Monsieur Blatt to join us this evening in the dining room.
It's your show, my friend.
I'd shoot you, Poirot, if somebody stole my gun.
Eh bien, Hastings. The murder of Millie Parsons, it is now explained. The fifth columnist has fled, and will hopefully lead Scotland Yard to other traitors. The practitioner of the voodoo has been revealed. The smugglers have been trapped with the goods, as you say. Only one target remains, the murderer of Elena Marshall.
Then you knew by now who had murdered Elena Stewart?
But of course, all of the clues are now in your possession as well. Hastings, the time it has arrived. The crowning glory of any case. That sublime moment when the spotlight shines down. A hush descends upon the audience, and all eyes turn to Poirot. Tonight, however, the stage, it shall be yours. Some will listen in relief, others in anger at what must be revealed. And some will listen in fear as the net of truth slowly, inexorably tightens about them. Now, one thing only before we begin. Do you wish Poirot's help? I can whisper in your ear and guide you. Or, if you feel brave, I will sit back and let you present the case your own little grey cells have constructed for you. What then is it to be?
I'd like to give it a try on my own.
I salute you, my friend, and wish you bonne chance. Well, that is to say, Hastings, pull yourself together. You wanted to present the summation on your own. Get on with it. Yes, oui. Mesdames et messieurs, we are gathered here to learn the facts behind the death of Elena Marshall. Two matters I will touch on briefly first. Mrs. Castle, our hostess, will not be joining us. She has fled the island, carefully shadowed by the police.
Good God, man. Do you mean to say she murdered Mrs. Marshall?
No, none at all. But for some time she has been in the employ of this nation's enemies. Rest assured, she will be arrested the moment she leads the police to her co-conspirators. Also, Monsieur Horace Blatt and a day trooper by the name of North have been taken into police custody.
What's he done?
He was arrested with a considerable quantity of heroin in his possession.
Blatt murdered Mrs. Marshall, then? No.
Fifth columnist? The drug smugglers, as I recall, Mr. Blatt. You thought this a rather dull place for a holiday.
And now we must turn our attention to murder. In order to understand the crime, it is necessary to separate the clues to its nature from the many red herrings that obscured our path. Once that is accomplished, we are left with the truth. Let us begin with the comparison of two bottles. The two bottles I compared were, of course,
Perfume bottles.
I speak of the two perfume bottles. The first bottle was in Madame Marshall's bath. She had applied the perfume before leaving on her float this morning, as I myself remarked. Why would she need a second bottle? And why was it found in the cave? Next, we come to another comparison. And for this, we owe much to the expertise of Mademoiselle Darnley.
3 pieces of green fabric.
A torn piece of fabric was found near the cave in Cutter's Cove. Another piece of green fabric was found in the fireplace of Linda Marshall. They appeared to be the same fabric as that of Madame Marshall's hat. In fact, Mademoiselle Darnley was able to tell at a glance that neither was the silk from the hat. I will now turn to another curious incident of this morning. Someone threw a bottle from the hotel balcony. It narrowly missed Mademoiselle Brewster. Why dispose of an unneeded bottle in such a fashion when there are convenient dustbins? The contents of the bottle was also surprising.
Artificial suntan.
Testing proved the bottle it had contained artificial suntan. But the weather, it has been most agreeable. The sun, it shines every day. Who would need such a thing? Then there was the contents of Madame Masha's flask.
Trianol.
Her coffee was laced with a heavy dose of the sedative Trianol. Instead of reviving her, it would almost certainly have put her into a deep sleep. Taken separately, their clues, they mean little. But together, a bath where there should have been none, duplicate perfume bottles, fabric for the hat that is very much alike, yet not the same, artificial suntan when the sun it shines brightly. These suggested at once to me a single thought alone.
Someone wanted to impersonate Arlena Marshall.
Someone wanted to duplicate the hat of Mrs. Marshall, her deep tan, even her scent. And how can we determine when this impersonation has taken place? It is a sound which gives us the clue.
The sound of running water.
An odd thing, that running water. It was heard both by Poirot and the maid Gladys Narracott. It was very late in the morning for someone to be taking a bath. And as I observed when I had occasion to use my own bath yesterday at an unusual hour, the sound, it is very noticeable in a quiet hotel. Why would someone need to run a bath so late in the morning, if all had already risen and breakfasted? Poirot's shoes begin to fit you, Hastings.
To remove the artificial suntan.
To wash off the artificial suntan, perhaps? The bottle, of course, it is thrown into the sea after the suntan is applied, narrowly missing Mademoiselle Brewster. It becomes clear, does it not, that someone impersonated Madame Marshall this very morning, very near to the time of her murder. But why?
To provide an alibi for the murderer.
Précisément. I have calculated the time it would take for every person on this island to reach Cutter's Cove, murder Madame Marshall, and come away again between 20 of 11 and 15 minutes to 12. And I tell you that only Mademoiselle Darnley can have done it.
Monsieur Poirot.
Comme-vous, mademoiselle? You were the only one close enough. Yet the nature of the crime, strangulation by powerful hands, eliminates you. Captain Marshall was typing the letters. Linda Marshall and Mrs. Redfern were together at Sanctuary Cove. Monsieur Redfern is in plain sight of several people, both guests and hotel staff. Mrs. Castle tends to her duties. The gardeners were together above the bathing beach, except when Monsieur Gardner goes to fetch the knitting wool. Despite Madame Gardner's apprehensions, he would still not have had enough time to do the deed. Mademoiselle Brewster swims, converses with Poirot and Rose. Monsieur Blatt sails. Major Barry gets lost. Monsieur Lane hikes.
What about the tunnels?
Ah yes, they're tunnels. They would certainly allow someone to reach Cutter's Cove undetected if their secret were known. But they do not make the trip there any shorter. Whether you travel from the Smuggler's Rest to Cutter's Cove, or the monastery ruins to Cutter's Cove via path or tunnel, the time it is almost the same. And without a compass, you may rest assured the trip would be much longer. The method of murder? Strangulation by a powerful pair of hands. Only a man or a strong woman could have done it. It is true there is a woman in this room who could have done it. Mademoiselle Brewster. Forgive me, mademoiselle.
Not at all. I believe in keeping fit.
This fact helps us to eliminate Madame Castle, Madame Gardner, Madame Redfern, Mademoiselle Darnley, and Mademoiselle Linda Marshall as the strangler. Strangulation, yes. A method of murder seen before in Devon. A schoolgirl named Millie Parsons. A housewife named Alice Corrigan. One murdered only a few weeks after the other earlier this year. One of these murders is connected only slightly to the death of Arlena Marshall. but the perpetrator of the other is far more intimately involved.
The murderer of Alice Corrigan.
Alice Corrigan and Alena Marshall were murdered by the same man. How does Poirot know this? The unbreakable alibi. The primary suspect in Alice Corrigan's murder also had the unbreakable alibi just as we face here. An alibi based solely on time. Corrigan, the husband of the murdered woman, was apparently aboard a train when she was killed. Yet in that case, all a certain young lady hiker by the name of Elizabeth Stride must do is give the time when she discovers the body at least 20 minutes before Alice Corrigan actually died. The husband has time to alight at the station, kill his wife, and be gone before the police they arrive. Note how the alibi, it is worked precisely the same. And here? Here the clue that demolishes the false alibi in the murder of Alena Marshall is her stepdaughter's watch.
No, Poirot, you're wrong.
Linda's watch keeps perfect time.
If the watch of Linda Marshall it did not keep the perfect time, I might have forgiven certain testimony as an honest mistake. But there was no honesty about it. It was a deliberate lie. The liar is Christine Redfern. You are a liar, Madame Redfern.
No.
You are the impersonator of Alena Marshall. And the only way you could have done it is if you changed the time on Linda's watch. You had the opportunity at Sanctuary Cove. You had the opportunity to change it back when you sneaked into her room to add to her fire that cheap green hat you wore as part of your disguise.
But how could she change the time on my watch when I was right there at the cove?
Mademoiselle, it was easy enough. Turn the watch back 20 minutes the first time you go into the sea. Then ask what time is it as you prepare to go into the sea once more. The watch, it says 15 minutes of 12. But of course, it is in reality only 25 minutes past 11. She is already dressed in the white bathing suit like Alena's. The green hat, it is concealed in her sketch bag. And the suntan was applied much earlier, now concealed by the clothes she wears to protect her from the sun. At 11:20, Madame Redfern, she hurries to Cutter's Cove, a journey of no more than 15 minutes. I have timed it myself. She finds Alena unconscious from the drugged coffee and pulls her into the cave. It could not have been easy. She spilled the coffee. Tore her hat? She has but a few moments to dab herself with Alena's perfume and compose herself before the rowboat with Patrick Redfern at the oars and Emily Brewster in the bow rounds the headland into Cutter's Cove. The time, it is precisely 11:40.
You have no proof of any of that. Why would she do such a thing?
She loves you, Monsieur Redfern, as you love her. Have I not agreed it is so?
Mr. Poirot, you're saying that the woman I saw lying there was Christine Redfern and not Alena Marshall?
Oui bien. A little play artfully contrived for your benefit. Each step you were led. Each step you thought you saw what you were supposed to see. Then after you left to go get help, And then the real murder occurs. Now, of course, it is truly 15 minutes of 12. Madame Marshall has the time to wash away the artificial tan, change his clothes, and arrive for her tennis rendezvous.
Monsieur Poirot, I am sure everyone will agree that I might have had a motive to kill Arlena, but not Patrick.
You think I believe in your jealousy, mademoiselle? When your husband, if he is indeed your husband, loves you and you know it to be true? No. The true motive lies in two documents.
Letter from Arlena's solicitors.
A telegram reveals that a sizable portion of her fortune was paid out last week to her. 10,000 pounds to be exact. Do you know anything of this, Captain Marshall?
First I've heard of it.
Letter from J.N.
A letter from a former admirer named Jimmy Nash gives us an insight into Mrs. Marshall and her relationships with a certain kind of man. It is clear that he has requested and received money from her sometime in the past. I said to Captain Marshall earlier today that until we can comprehend fully and completely exactly what kind of a person Arlena Marshall was, we shall not be able to see clearly exactly the kind of person who murdered her. And what do we see from these two letters?
Arlena was taken advantage of by men she was attracted to.
Arlena Marshall was a woman who needed to be admired, adored. It is true. But what was the result? She was fair game for a certain type of man who takes advantage of such women. Just as Jimmy Nash convinced her to give him money, Patrick Redfern did the same. And I know as surely as I know anything, that before Jimmy Nash, there was another such man, and before him another. Arlena was not a predator. She was the victim. That is her character. And that is the character of Edward Corrigan, the man who killed her, just as he killed his wife Alice for her inheritance only a few months ago.
No proof whatsoever.
Oh, I don't know about that. Here's something even Poirot hasn't heard yet. Although knowing him, he expects it. I sent a photograph of the two of you he borrowed from your suitcase to the Brixham police.
Allow me to make this small deduction, Colonel. They have identified you as Edward Corrigan and Elizabeth Stride, the young woman who found the body. Bravo, Hastings! I could not have done better myself.
Thanks, old man. That's dashed kind of you.
Oh, well, that's torn it. Edward, don't be a fool!
Say, that looks like my revolver.
You can go quietly to the noose if you like, my dear. I have other plans.
Poirot? Shouldn't we chase after him?
Poirot does not chase.
You damned, interfering, lousy little worm. One step and I'll kill you. I may do it anyway.
Here is your chance, Hastings. Warn him if you wish to. Try not to get Poirot killed, please. Do not signal with the lantern.
And why not?
I told young Monsieur Jenks the lie.
What has Jenks got to do with it?
That is Madame Castle's signal lantern you stole from her safe that she used to signal the U-boats. I too found the lantern and also the code book. I told Monsieur Jenks that 3 long flashes of the light is safe, but it is the code to fire at the signal.
I expected you to try and block my escape, but I'm no fool. You're bluffing.
It is no bluff.
Sorry, you greasy little foreigner, but I just don't believe you.
Very well, Hastings. We can go now.
Right. That's the signal.
Achtung! Stellen Sie Koordinaten ein! Bereit! Ziel! Feuer!
Hell.
Gut! Ziel zerstört es! Tauchen!
One mystery only remains, Hastings. You have the clue. Code. What is then the code that allows someone to control their finger of suspicion? When you think you have the answer, tell me and we shall see what we shall see. Bravo, Hastings. That is indeed the code that unlocks the finger of suspicion. You have uncovered the secret of its magic. The case it is now complete, my friend. You have walked in Poirot's shoes.
Poirot, I'll be honest with you. Now that I've given it a try, your job is not as easy as I thought. But thank you for the experience. I am proud to be your friend.
And I am honored to have you as mine, Hastings. We have passed the hours most agreeably.
Yes, I thank you for that too. I'm sorry, old chap. I should trot on over to the War Office, I'm afraid.
And so, one mystery solved, and another, even greater, begins.
Don't you worry. No more holidays at the beach for a time, maybe. But we'll pull through. You'll see.
Oh, I feel like the dinosaur, Hastings. Gone is my world, where good always triumphs over evil. Where the clues, they all add up to the satisfactory solution. Where the murderer never escapes. This will be a war as we have never seen it. Whatever the outcome, mon ami, the cost, it will be high. And I fear our world, it will never be the same.